Hello and welcome back to the Unskripted podcast. Before we get started this week, I do want to put one thing on the table. Unscripted episodes are actually going to be put on hiatus for the foreseeable future. I just jumped in over my head and I needed to come up for air and slow things down, especially with the comics and gaming videos and like editing all those. Just editing an unscripted on top of all that is just a bit too much for me right now. So I'm not saying they'll never return, but I think I like this podcast format a little bit better as well, just because it allows me to do more things, um, and it allows me to be a bit more creative. But with that being said, the movies I review on this podcast, like the one I do today, Palm Springs, will still be ranked alongside the three that I did in unscripted episodes. So thank you guys. But anyway, let's just get started. Palm Springs is a Hulu original movie released in 2020 about Niles and Sarah, who are stuck in a Groundhog's Day-like time loop together and fall in love. It's about as recycled as it sounds. And although most people really like this movie, I was not blown away by the film and was left mostly underwhelmed. And that's really all there is to say about this movie in a nutshell. This movie doesn't really have a whole lot of original ideas. So I guess now is a good time for initial thoughts with me and Jack.
Hello, it is Jack. I was told to record my voice for my initial thought on this movie called Palm Springs. This time I did watch a trailer for it, so I do have some idea of what's going on and what to expect. But I, at the same time, don't know what to expect. I know that there's some great people in this, and you know what? I'm just gonna watch it and see what happens. So, talk to you after that.
So I didn't actually record my initial thoughts beforehand because I just forgot about it. But I was actually pretty excited about this movie. It got some really stellar reviews on some of these review sites, and even though I didn't read them, I did see like it has like a 95 on Rotten Tomatoes. It did pretty well, and it had a great cast. I love Andy Samberg. I love J.K. Simmons. Um, and I was just pretty overall ecstatic and hyped for this movie. Palm Springs revolves around Niles accidentally bringing Sarah into an infinite time loop on her sister's wedding day. They slowly fall in love before Niles tells her that he had slept with her before she was also in the time loop, causing her to freak out and learn physics so she could escape. She asks Niles to come with her, but he doesn't want to before realizing that he does love her and getting a chance to live out his life with her. They finally escape the time loop by blowing themselves up, and that's the movie. That's the entire plot. So, what makes this movie bad, in my opinion? And I don't know if I would use the term bad. I enjoyed this movie. Just it wasn't as great as I was hoping it would be. I think a lot of the reason I thought this movie was bad was just because it all felt recycled. When I saw the 95% on Rotten Tomatoes score, I thought I was going to kind of bring something new to the table. But I mean, most of this is just Groundhog's Day again. And I understand it's hard to write a movie like this without feeling like Groundhog's Day. But wow, it's just Groundhog's Day again. Um, I I think I think what a lot of people think is interesting about this movie is the two of them are stuck in this time loop together. But it still didn't really add to the plot a whole lot. I mean, most of the first act and second act of this movie are just Niles and Sarah goofing around and doing whatever they want to do without really any consequences. And just because they're together doesn't really add anything to that. Um, and it felt forced, or not. It felt overdone. Another big thing this movie had that I felt was used properly was the entire J.K. Simmons side plot. So, J.K. Simmons' character, whose name I don't remember, was brought into this world by Niles while the two of them were high. And he's looking for revenge of some sort from Niles because he's angry that he got stuck in a time loop. So his character shows up at this wedding every 2 or 3 weeks and just kills Niall painfully for sport in some sort of revenge. And I guess that could have been interesting, but it happens once in the first loop before Sarah is brought into the time loop, and that's, I mean, the really only time we see him until he shows up as a cop later on in the film, and Niles and Sarah kind of split off and do their own adventures. And we see him one more time in his home, and we see him one more time in his home, and then he explains to Niles that he's come to peace with the fact he's in a time loop. And that's it. That's the only thing we see of this character. And I feel like for such a big name actor, it felt like a waste to have this character in this movie. This character doesn't do anything. He doesn't progress the plot. He just is there to have J.K. Simmons in this movie, it feels. And honestly, it almost feels like J.K. Simmons is only in this movie to get him in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Because, I don't know. It feels like that was Andy Samberg's way of getting J.K. Simmons on his show. Which, don't get me wrong, when J.K. Simmons on that episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he was great, and I loved it, but I just felt like that entire subplot could have been removed from this movie, and it wouldn't have really made a difference. But other than that, I think this movie was really funny. A lot of the humor landed, especially the bit where Niles was like talking to his girlfriend about cheating on her with Sarah, and they just kept repeating the same line together. I thought that was really funny and creative. I thought a lot of the jokes they pulled with the time loop were really clever. I just feel like you didn't need to make this movie. I feel like this, we should have just left it with Groundhog's Day and called it that. So, I don't really have a whole lot more to say about this movie. Overall, it wasn't a bad experience. It was boring at times, and when it wasn't boring, it felt like I had seen it before. So I guess we should see what Jack thought of this movie after watching it, and then I'll share my reviews.
And here we go. So I just finished Palm Springs, and that was a pretty good movie. Basic plot, they're reliving the same day, which was, even though I've never seen any movie that's done that, was pretty good. It felt new and different, again, even though I've never seen anything like it. But everyone that was in it was great. Just overall, that was a good time. I don't regret it. I never felt bored. I felt like it was invested the entire time in like what's gonna happen next. And overall, I think this was, at least for this channel, the best one I've watched. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this for now.
That was well put. Maybe I don't know. I haven't had a chance to listen to Jack's audio yet. Um, so I guess now is going to be the equivalent of a review podium on this show. Um, and I do want to point out before I list any of my reviews that just because I've been pretty negative toward this movie didn't mean I actually hated it. I feel like it got a lot of credit where credit wasn't due, and I just feel like this movie itself was pretty boring. But I still enjoyed the movie for what it was. Um, and so with that being said, our three categories on Review Podium are going to be humor, which got a 4 out of 5 because, as I said earlier, this movie is very funny when it wants to be funny. Almost all the jokes land to some extent or another. And it was like it was funny for a good duration of the plot. The second category is original ideas, which will get a 2 out of 5 because although they did bring a second person into the time loop, this movie still was heavily Groundhog's Day, and I feel didn't bring a whole lot new to the table. And finally, entertainment. This category is also going to get a 2 out of 5 because even though I did say it was funny, when I wasn't laughing at a joke, I was pretty bored at just what was happening. And I didn't really ever feel super invested. So this movie is going to get a 2 out of 5 there. Overall, I think this means that this is the best film on my list. I don't know if technically grading wise it falls there. But I mean, it's better than anything else I watch on this show for sure. Scoob is the closest thing that comes to it, and I don't think Scoob surpassed it. So, thank you guys for watching, I guess. And if you want to follow us for more content, we're at Axis Comics on Twitter and Instagram, and at Axis Comics Official on DeviantArt. And we're also we post videos here every day, and Unskripted podcasts every Thursday. So subscribe if you want more content, and hit that bell if you want to be notified. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Also, I'm sorry this video is so short. I was hoping to at least hit the 15-minute mark. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about this movie. It was boring, and it had been done before, and that's really all there is to say, in my opinion. So, anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.